Hey guys, welcome to Driveway Liberty Podcast. You are the enlightened, the few, the in the know, the coolest people on the planet. I am Wes, and this is the Driveway Liberty Podcast, and we're so glad to be with you tonight. We're going to talk about some really deep subjects, some really cool things, some other things. But before we do that, let me introduce you to my co-host, the hot-headed one himself, Dan Matichero. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Wes? I'm trying. I think you had that little Serenity music with the countdown to try to give some positive vibes and some mellow vibes
I was
coming
trying to
my
help
way.
you get you zen on a little bit, buddy.
Yeah,
Trying to
it
help you
didn't.
out.
It didn't work.
I didn't think it really would, but I was
Yeah,
just
I had to finalize my health insurance yesterday, and or 2 days ago, I guess it was, and it makes me want to cause someone some serious physical harm.
I know you were telling me about it, man. That it absolutely sucks, and that's what happens when government gets involved with some stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about tonight, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. A
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Before we get into that, a couple of announcements. We will not be doing an episode on Christmas Eve nor New Year's Eve. So we're taking the rest of the year off from the podcast after tonight. So everybody, Merry Christmas.
Happy New
We haven't done the night before a Liberty Minded Christmas this year. So maybe we'll put that out over the next few days and update it like we have in years past. Um, but right now, I don't really know what to write in it. I mean, it's just there's so much we're being jerked around in so many different directions, and the cycle moves so fast with accusations and stupid stuff, and um, it's just kind of hard. I may sit down and see if I can come up with a little something like that. In the meantime, guys, thanks you so much for sharing the podcast with your friends and family. Be sure to chime in the discussion. We will only be discussing topics that we discussed tonight. So if you came here to argue anything else, this isn't the forum for that.
Bye.
You can
We'll
haul
catch
at
you
us.
later.
We if you did come here to discuss something we released in the last week, I assure you we will be releasing more information on that later. We are working on something pretty big now. It's a huge undertaking, and we don't want to release that until we've done everything and researched everything. So that's all I'm saying about that right now. So, you know, Rob Reiner, he's the director behind the Princess Bride and director behind When Harry Met Sally. He was Meathead on um, All in the Family. That's where he kind of got his start. And on that show, he played a liberal activist, and he was a liberal activist in real life.
Didn't he do A Few Good Men too?
Did he? I don't know.
I tell you, he's had some brilliant movies over his career.
He has, and he was brutally murdered, allegedly by his own son. He and his wife were. I believe it's Sunday night, Monday, or at some point earlier this week. And that's absolutely a tragedy. I didn't like his politics and I didn't like him as an individual, but that's an absolute tragedy. And just as I expected people in this country to act when Charlie Kirk was killed and didn't, and then we bashed them for it and went after them, and some of them were canceled and fired from their positions. I think we on the right should act the way we expect others to act. And unfortunately, not everybody's doing that. And, you know, I voted for Trump this last time. I support most of what Trump does. But unlike a lot of people, I don't blindly follow everything he does and support everything he does. So before I show this tweet, Dan, you got any thoughts?
I can't wait to watch the address tonight and see what he's going to say to the nation, because I'm not a happy man. But
Never mind. There's speculation that it's going to be invading Venezuela. There's a speculation that it's going to be related to Bongino stepping down and other things.
you know what I think it's going to be?
What's that, buddy?
It's going to be a, hey, I want to tell you how great the economy is. The golden years of America are here. And just going to tell us a bunch of stuff. So he's got a lot of good stuff in the work. We're seeing some positive returns, but he's losing support left and right because why did he get elected? He got elected
Drain the swamp,
to come in with a wrecking ball,
right,
and destroy the system that has suppressed and screwed over the middle class our whole lives, and hold people accountable who have done some very bad things, not just to him, but to all the people who were involved in January 6th. I mean, we could go through the whole scenario of the past, 10 or 11 years of the crap they pulled. And the expectations are there's going to be some accountability. We finally got an administration that's going to hold politicians accountable. And nothing is happening, to the point where I think Bongino is giving them the double middle finger and saying, I'm getting the hell out of this train wreck. And now he said some stuff that he can't go back on his show and change some of the stuff. I mean,
well, and he probably also had to sign some non-disclosure agreements. And by the way, we apologize if you're used to watching this on Rumble. We are not on Rumble tonight because that hooking it up to that when creating a new show format is a little bit more complex than just going through Facebook and YouTube. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But there, me, and as we'll talk about here in a little while, the financial side of what government does, I think, is the root to all of their evils. But in all reality, a lot of the financial promises that have been made, first part of the last year or this year, it's about to be last year. We're going to do away with IRS. We're going to do away with income tax. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Oh, you're going to get $6,000 back in rebates, and $2,000, and $2,000 if you make less than $150,000 in your household. There's a lot of promises that have been made, a lot of rumors that have been put out there, and not a lot of it's come true yet. And I'm not jumping ship. I'm still hopeful. I'm not losing hope. But
the sad reality is you can't jump ship because the alternative is
far worse.
Armageddon. I mean, it's a complete nightmare. It's nothing like the America that we wish for and that we strive to be. It will be a socialist hellhole.
Right. Well, it's you remember back when he was toying with rerunning again for this term, and you can see the shirts, mean tweets, 2025 or 2024.
Yeah.
Well, and to some degree, a lot of that's extremely entertaining. And some of it, you're like, hell yeah, tell them to stick it up their ass, Look, like I said, I didn't like Rob Reiner as a person or mainly because of his politics. But this right here, I think went a little far. Okay. And it's very similar to what a lot of the left did when Charlie Kirk died. So I'm going to put this up here, Dan, if you'll read it while I continue to share this out and stuff.
A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. Holy shit, run-on sentence.
Right.
He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals. Are you fucking kidding me? And expectations of greatness. And with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. God, did Trump fall out of bed and hit his head?
I don't know what the thought process was here. At first, I was like, "Man, this has got to be a satire account," but it's truth. It's
Yeah,
not.
I
It's
saw it on
Truth
his.
Social.
Whenever I see a Trump truth or whatever they're called, I have a True Social account and I follow Trump. I don't use it other than to verify that Trump, some of this stuff is true. So you go in, you verify it. Yes, it's true. He put this out.
Right.
I don't understand. Well, first of all, there's nothing in there that's true other than him and his wife were killed. They didn't get killed because of TDS.
No.
They got killed because their son is pumped full of hormones, has major mental health issues, substance abuse, and went fucking nuts.
Yeah,
That's why they were killed.
That's why they were killed.
It has nothing to do with Trump.
No, and it's I mean, look, anytime you're in a big leadership role of any kind, whether it be in private industry, hell, when you have to be a musician, you have to have a certain level of narcissism. That's part of it, because you have to believe in yourself to be able to make hard decisions. There's no doubt about that. But this is a little far, man. I mean,
This is not
the time. You know what? A month down the road, poke fun.
Not even that. You don't have to pretend that you like this guy. You don't have to say anything nice about him. You don't have to fake sympathy. Just don't say anything.
Right? Yeah. Just keep your mouth shut.
It's sad. The situation is sad. I mean, it's horrible that somebody was murdered by their kid. I mean, that's horrible.
Regardless of who it is.
There's some pretty scientific reasons as to why that happened.
Yep. Well, there's also, all right. I don't mean to chase a little bit of a rabbit here, but there were a couple of articles that were put up that have been pulled down that their son was being forced to transition. And
how old was their son?
He was in his 30s, but he was also financially dependent on Rob Reiner. I mean, he didn't have a job. I think he was a photographer. He had taken some photos. Funny enough, Rob Reiner's wife actually took the cover photo picture for, and I'm chasing another rabbit here with this. This has nothing to do with the son. For The Art of the Deal.
Well, let's follow that. Does that change anything? Like,
not a thing. Absolutely not a thing. But if he was, I'm not justifying the kid's behavior. I say kid, he's in his 30s. I'm not justifying his behavior and murdering his family. But if he was so screwed up from all of these chemicals he's been taking all of his life, and then he was being forced into transition, and maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he's just being coerced into that and told, well, maybe the reason you're hooked on all these drugs is because you're a woman living in a man's body. Who knows? But there were two, and I know I'm spreading speculation. I'm not saying that any of this is true, but there were a couple of articles that were put up and subsequently removed from the internet that alleged that.
I don't know. To me, it doesn't matter. The tranny madness is a real thing, and either this is an example of it actually happening. Let's just say nobody was coerced. The kid was fucked up in the head and wanted to be a woman, but we all know that the parents would have been full-throated pro. Knock yourself out. This is the greatest thing. I can be like some other Hollywood freaks to have two. Who was it? Who's got two transgender children.
Is it Charlize Theron?
Yes, that's who it is. How the
What are the odds, right?
If it's truly a, I don't know how they trying to sell you on this. Just the way you're wired, or it's not a mental illness, they're saying, but it's just some people just have this situation. What are the chances that it would be your two children?
Yeah,
like it's impossible.
Well, isn't it Charlize Theron that come out and said, my children are trans, my sister's children are trans, everybody's that I know's children are trans.
Yeah, and that's,
but statistically speaking, that's impossible.
Yeah,
unless you are grooming them to be such.
It's a societal contagion, is what it is.
Absolutely. All right, I don't want to get bogged down in the training stuff. We can talk about that at another show. Let's talk about something that's really cool, I think. And I think we talked about Trump and this dumb truth post that he put out.
It just doesn't serve.
And by truth, I mean Truth Social. Let's clarify. That's
what he calls tweets or whatever.
Yeah. So let's talk about something that's a little bit more on the brilliant side by somebody a little bit closer to home, our own governor, Heavy D, Ron DeSantis. So effective immediately, Florida is designating the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, as foreign terrorist organizations. Florida agencies are hereby directed to undertake all lawful measures to prevent unlawful activities by these organizations, including denying privileges or resources to anyone providing material support. Now, why is this smart? I will tell you, and then we can talk about it. So there's been rumor and innuendo that these organizations are involved with certain terrorist activities or being supported by terrorist organizations or sending support back to terrorist organizations. There's a paper trail in that. One of these organizations has already hinted at suing the state of Florida because of this designation that DeSantis has laid on them. Well, I don't know what you know about lawsuits, but anytime there's a lawsuit, there's a period in which it's called discovery, where you can subpoena the records of an organization or subpoena somebody's phone records or their email records or anything else. So if CARE does follow through and sues the state of Florida is going to be all up in their business, so to speak. I personally thought that was a brilliant move, because if you have reason to believe that they are truly a terrorist organization, it's going to be in the paper trail. What you think, Dan?
That is great, but I have a question. If you knew for sure 100% that a terrorist plot in an organization was living in the house next to you, and you were in imminent danger because they were terrorists, what would you do?
Me personally?
Yeah, you.
If I were in imminent danger and I could reasonably claim that in a legal aspect, I would take them out before they could take me out.
Yeah. What do we do to terrorists? We don't, like, to me, this whole...
What's the line? We don't negotiate with terrorists?
Yeah, but I mean, if we have terrorists living in our backyard, what do you do to terrorists? If they truly are terrorists.
Right.
What do we do with them?
We take them out.
We kill them.
That's kill what I mean by take them out. That's correct.
And if we have terrorists on our own soil, which is... DeSantis believes there's terrorists in the state of Florida. We've designated them as terrorist organizations. And sure, the discovery thing is great. But to me, that's only if you need proof. So are you saying they may be terrorists and I need to file this so we can discover to prove it? Or are they really terrorists and we should have a task force going to murder them?
Right.
Like, I don't know, if I'm a leader of a country and I have a military or a police under me, and there's terrorists in the place that I am in charge of, I'm killing them.
Yes,
I'm rooting them out and killing them.
that's the plan. That's what. Look, that's it. If somebody, well, I mean, let's boil this down into a more personal level. Like you started with the neighbors, but if somebody wants to kill you, then what you do is you try to kill them first.
Yeah, but we're
You
talking
prevent it. You
about,
try to prevent it any other way, and if you can de-escalate it, you can.
but that's for anything. So
Yeah.
if your if your neighbor is, just a bad person, I mean, that's one thing. But if your neighbor is a part of a network who's trying to kill massive amounts of Americans, hey Jerry, Jerry, my neighbor, hey buddy, how are you? Happy Merry Christmas. We don't say Happy Holidays on this show.
Right.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Jerry lived next door to me before I moved here,
Mm,
over in Trinity, Florida.
I got you.
Boy, people are finding us, coming out of the woodworks to find us.
Hey, that's
Good to
awesome.
see you.
Well, I mean, if he's friends with you on Facebook, that helps.
I agree with you, Mary. That's one of the angles. The other one is kill terrorists. Like, what's the definition of a terrorist?
Well, somebody creates fear to get their way. That's the textbook definition of a
And how
terrorist
do they create fear?
through a multitude of means, but usually a threat of violence.
Yeah, and a lot of times they carry out that violence. So
Uh,
what do we do in order to keep that violence from happening?
we
Do
kill.
we wait until after it happens and then sue them, or do we try to stop them before it happens?
We try to stop them, Dan. I think. Yep.
All right,
Gerald says,
I'm with you. Mary, I agree with you too. This is one of the avenues. But if
you
you're
have
just
to
doing it,
prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that that's their local intent, and I think we're already seeing that as we see Ellen Omar lying about her son being arrested by ICE
I don't know.
unduly.
I'm in one of those moods where I'm tired of everything other than action.
Yeah,
Shit needs to
understand.
get fixed, and I'm tired of seeing it not get fixed.
Well, let's talk about how we fix this, Dan. We've touched on this in the past, and Mary's tap dancing all over it right now. Discovery is a means of rooting out sources of revenue streams.
Sure, and
Speaking
that's
of,
how you find people who support them. That's how you find how far it it is involved in other areas that people you wouldn't even know were a part of a terrorist network or supporting a terrorist network. But if you
well,
got a group of terrorists, there's a Muslim Brotherhood meeting right over here on
mhm,
Tuesday night, and they're terrorists. Why would you let them have a meeting?
that's a great point,
Or
Dan.
are they really terrorists and this is some symbolic shit? Do you understand what I'm saying? This is like, listen, I love DeSantis. I'm happy that he is our governor. He's done fantastic things, and this is a good move. I
We,
agree with it
them
because
being here, they still
you
have
not
certain
only,
rights. They
just
have
to
rights to
Mary's
due
point,
process.
you can find people who are supporting them, who are involved that you wouldn't even know were a part of or assisting a terrorist network. But the terrorists themselves, fucking kill them.
Agreed.
Get rid of them. Eliminate them from the world, especially if they're here in Florida.
Agreed.
I
Well,
don't
let's
want
talk
you to
about.
go put
Okay.
Americans at risk to go fly over to the Middle East and start a war. But if they're here, if you got a group of terrorists in Dade County,
Take them out.
get rid of them, kill them. They go away.
That's an
Problem
accurate point.
solved.
There
You can always follow the revenue streams by, after you kill them, you take their computer hard drives, you take all their paperwork, and you go find who you can link people who are hanging out there, people who have given them donations, all that other shit. Find the rest of the money flow and all that stuff to find people who are accessories. But when you're saying this person's a terrorist, that person can't be allowed to continue to be a terrorist
Accurate.
and live in America.
Accurate. Let's talk about something that we kind of touched on about a week or so ago. I know you need to take a couple of deep breaths, brother.
This. I wasn't even mad about this. This
Fair.
isn't even where do we talk about the freaking title of the show? You want to see me mad?
Speaking of which, I proposed a solution. I guess it was last week or week before last. How do we fix government? First off, let's talk about part of where we went wrong. We're going to watch this video.
Government and terrorists aren't that far apart.
Well, accurate. Government's just doing terrorist things. Some governments are doing terrorist things.
Cat, what's up?
Here we go. All right. So this guy's going to describe the history of the income tax better than I can in a shorter period of time than I can because I'm long-winded. So let's watch this.
Why aren't schools teaching that there was no federal income tax the first 137 years America was a country? Because there was no legal federal income tax between 1776 until 1913 when they amended or changed the U.S. Constitution. They imposed an income tax for 12 years during the Civil War and in 1894 and 1895, but that was found unconstitutional. It was in the Supreme Court case Pollock v. Farmers Loan and Trust Company, and they struck down the federal income tax. And it remained unconstitutional for another 17 years until 1913 when they passed the 16th Amendment and changed the Constitution. And it has been a little over 120 years since they did that, which means there was no legal federal income tax for the majority of American history. People think that all of these taxes, all of this government intrusion into our lives is the norm, but it is not the norm. This is the norm. This is 1776, and the reason America was the manufacturing center of the world in 1912. America had the largest and most prosperous middle class in the history of the world. American steel, American oil, American automotive. But in 1913, they changed the Constitution, which was the same year that they created a national bank. So right at the same time as they gave the government the ability to reach into our pockets and take our money, they also gave a small group of powerful bankers a monopoly over the printing of the dollar. And they print money out of thin air. They lend the money that they printed to the government, and the government agrees to pay them back with interest using the money that they take from us. And that is why the dollar has been so devalued. That is why you can't afford a house. And it's why college is so expensive. Because for 137 years, America was about prosperity. And since then, it's been about whatever this is. And this is why I wrote a book on the banking system. And in my courses, we learn real history. Because if our kids are going to have a fighting chance, they have to know the truth. Check out my private homeschool community. And Cubs to Bears, books. Classical Learner.
So I let it run through because I think this guy is right on point. What he's teaching is accurate. It's the way I was taught it when I got my degree in political science. That's exactly how the income tax amendment came to bear. And that's something that we're not teaching people anymore. I can't spit it out. So just to reiterate a little bit of what he said, in our lifetime, all we've known is the income tax. So to us, that's the status quo. But that is not the status quo for this country, because 137 years, we did not have an income tax. We have for the last 123 years, but the first 137 years, we did not have an income tax. And guess what? I'm not going to get into the things that we still had yet. Let's talk about why taxation is theft? First off, let's look at the logic chain that goes into it. And it's like this. You own your labor. You're not a slave. You're not property of the government. You own your own labor. Your labor produces income or property. Ownership means control without coercion. That means you get to make the decisions in your life and how your labor is used. You get to choose to trade your labor for dollars or for chickens or a boat or whatever you want to trade your labor for. Taxes are taken under threat of punishment if you refuse. If you don't believe that, try it. Refuse to pay your taxes, see what happens. Therefore, the taking is not voluntary. Non-voluntary taking of something, of property, is theft. That's it. It's not mystical. It's not edgy. It's a straight line moral argument about consent and force. That's primarily why taxation is theft. And I'll give you a second. I'll give you a second to chime in just a sec, Dan. Give me just a second. We've lost somebody that really loves taxes, apparently. They've left us. So why does consent matter so much here? The state does not ask. It informs you. You can vote, sure, but voting doesn't equal consent in the moral sense any more than choosing which mugger gets elected to rob you. If 51% vote to take 10% of your income, the 49% didn't suddenly agree, they lost. Any comment thus far, Dan?
Keep going.
All right. So people who reject the fact that taxation is theft usually argue that society is a collective project. We all work together for the betterment of our society. Participation implies obligation, meaning you've got a civic duty to participate. Taxes are the price of civilization. In other words, their argument, and forgive my typo in the slide here, is that rights themselves come from and depend on the state. So taxing them isn't theft. Let me read that again and I'll fix the typo as I read it again. In other words, their argument is that the rights themselves come from and depend on the state. So taxing them isn't theft. So they own the labor. They own the rights. You do not own your labor. You are not a sovereign citizen. And I don't mean that in the wild take where the guy gets pulled over and refuses to show his driver's license. A lot of times when you talk about taxation being theft, people argue that, but my roads, the schools, the fire departments. First off, we had all of those things before 1913 when the income tax, the 16th Amendment was ratified. The argument isn't public goods are useless. The argument is its usefulness does not erase the fact that taking your money is coercion. If something good is funded by force, the force doesn't disappear just because the outcome feels warm and fuzzy. I should have put fuzzy instead of paved in there. Paved applies to the roads. That was the thing. But so in other words, I may want to, I see a bunch of starving children and I may want to feed them, but I don't have the means personally to do that. I can go into a bank and rob them and say, hey, give me all your money. I'm going to go feed these 30 kids who are starving to death. That doesn't make my act less theft just because of the intent of the use of the money. Does that make sense? Dan, I know you got some comments now, brother. What you got?
Well, I guess in looking at this part here is, are we happy with the role that government has taken in paving our lives? Because in reality, government has framed and structured a lot of what we do.
Oh yeah.
We have much less freedom than we like to believe. Mm-hmm. So the government dictates a whole bunch of stuff. They do a whole bunch of stuff with us. with assumed authority. And my question is are we getting the bang for our buck?
Well, and let me interject with one part of the phrase you just used. You said assumed authority. I would change the word assumed to seized.
Yeah, but we willingly give it to them.
In some aspects, you're absolutely correct.
Are we still paying our taxes?
Yeah, but
are we not
under
ready to
the
battle
threat,
the IRS when they come
under the
with
threat
guns
of
and take us
arrest
away?
or
Yeah, but
taking our shit.
But and I'm not saying you're wrong, and I'm not even pushing back against it. I'm just clarifying the fact that we know if we don't pay taxes, we'll get arrested. We know that's wrong. Taxation is theft, and it's wrong.
Yes.
Yet we continue to do it
Because we don't want to lose our shit and go to jail.
Yeah, but like, would you do that if your neighbor came over to take your dogs away?
That's all right. So let's discuss that. How is that different? My neighbor came over and tried to steal something. What's my recourse?
I know what your recourse is, but
Yeah. I mean, I have my recourse is to stop him from doing that. And
yes.
my options are I could physically or personally stop him, or I could call the authorities to come and help me stop him. If government does it, see, this is the big difference here. This is why it's maybe exponentially worse that government does it this way. Government does it. They have the full faith and credit of the entire United States military, every law enforcement branch available in the country, and Congress,
Well,
Supreme
because
Court, everything else.
all that stuff is government.
Yes, that's my point. They have a really big stick, Dan.
Yeah.
My neighbor's little stick is not anything. I don't know that that's analogous. I mean, I see what you're saying, but it's.
Have you seen the movie A Bug's Life?
I have, Dan, and we've discussed that multiple times.
We're the ants.
We are.
And when the ants get their head out of their ass and realize they have more power than the grasshoppers, all this shit goes away.
But it has to be
all it is the majority of the ants are fucking morons.
Accurate.
And they don't care. And they're fine with being controlled and being led and being robbed.
It's easy, Dan. It's easy to do.
Yeah, it's harder. It's harder to be responsible for your own success. It's harder to do the hard work in order to get the things that you want. We'd rather have them given to us or made easier for us to get based on somebody else, the government, assisting us.
Exactly. It is.
I'm
like about to butcher Thomas Sowell quote, but
I'm in an anarchy mood in case you haven't figured it out yet.
No, I see that, buddy. I can appreciate
I'm
that.
fucking fed up with this shit.
Accurate. Yes. The Thomas Sowell quote comes to mind. Why is it considered greed for me to want to keep, and I'm butchering the quote, I apologize. Why is it greed for me to want to keep more of what I've earned? What I earned by my own hands, I think is what's closer to his quote.
It's only greed if you allow them to label it.
Yes.
To you, it's not.
Well, and that's one of my questions. Anytime somebody says something greedy, and you talk about the greedy rich people on the beach, or you talk about the greedy corporations, always like, well, define greed. At what point is it considered greedy? You know, if I had all the food in the world and nobody else had it, I think that would definitely be greedy. And I wouldn't give it.
Be in deep shit.
I would be. I'd be dead. Is what would be happening. But if I have more than another individual, and I don't want to share all of that with the other individual against my will. And that's what government
50% of
does.
the country, 50% of the country has more than the other half.
Sure. But at what point is it greed? When does it not greed?
Greed is this greed is the wrong label.
Sure. Well, I mean, we're chasing another rabbit here, but Billie Eilish, who had made a comment, I think it was to Elon Musk or another billionaire at something she was performing at. Well, why don't you come off some of your money and help and do this or that, or help and actually help people. Now, this person has created an industry that's provided thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs. It also has helped others because of the products and services it sells and
People
provides.
make money off of the product that he gives you.
Absolutely. And to imply that he's not helping anybody by providing those goods and services is disingenuous. It's a lie, and then so it's a misunderstanding of how things work.
How much money does this Billy?
She's a millionaire. As a matter of fact, Grant Cardone, I don't know if you're familiar with him. I am, because when I was training salespeople, and as I was training as a salesperson before I got a little older, I took a lot of his classes, and he actually responded to one of her tweets or something, said, "Hey, I hear you're playing in New Orleans this week. New Orleans is one of the poorest cities in the nation, and you're charging $137 for tickets. Why don't you just let all those people come to your show for free?
Or take the $137 a ticket and give it back to the city of New Orleans. Or no, not the government.
Right.
Give it to a nonprofit in New Orleans that feeds or provides for the community."
Absolutely.
These people fucking are pieces of shit hypocrites.
Well, it's not only that, but you talk about, this guy in the video that we just showed on the income tax, or the history of the income tax amendment and income tax in the United States, he points it out. He says it in the first, like, 2 or 3 sentences. Government is not teaching you this in schools. And we don't teach economics in schools. We don't teach Thomas Sewell, who wrote Economics 101, introductory.
It would be to their detriment if we did.
Yeah. That's the point. And it's a self-perpetuating system at this point, where they're training these people or teaching these kids, well, this is the way it goes. This are your rights come from government. I've seen that in our local school system on papers, and I've had to go in and argue that personally with the teacher whose degree was in education, but she was teaching citizenship.
Add to that, they're the biggest employer in the nation.
Yes. So it's a self-perpetuating monster is what it is. It's a self-feeding monster, and the only way it can feed itself is to dumb down society. Now, and you said earlier that the overwhelming majority of people are idiots, but that idiocy has been planned. It's been thought out, and it's been contrived and perpetuated.
Well, it's a combination of idiocy, complacency, disengagement, blatant refusal to be involved in any of the process. And when you do get involved, your ability to have common sense and discernment and be able to figure out what's true and what's not, and not be snowed by bullshit. Like, there's many levels to their idiocy. And listen, I'm not saying there's a lot of things I'm probably an idiot about too.
Yeah.
But this shit ain't one of them.
Well, and you know what? Admittedly, I'm not always right about some of this stuff.
Nobody would expect anybody to be. That's why there's discourse. That's why we have arguments. That's why you get a say.
So it's kind of funny. I asked a question on my personal Facebook page the other day. What is something that the old folks taught us when we were kids that you believe is overwhelmingly true today and you wish you'd listened to? And somebody chimed in and said, not talk about politics. Well, you know my stance on that. And I retorted, I'm like, nah, I think if we'd have talked to civilly discuss politics, we'd be in a much better place right now. And he lost it. He's like, no, man, you're just trying to influence me. I'm like, no, dude, I'm not trying to influence you at all. You stated your opinion. I'm stating why I disagree with it. That's all. I'm not mad at you. But you're wrong.
100% wrong. Like, because this is not a part of everyday society and conversations, it's become the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room that if you talk about it, it's going to take your fucking head off at Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
That's why. And that's why they're allowed to go out there and do this shit in plain sight, because we've basically created a societal wall between us and them based on us not being able to talk about them amongst ourselves.
Well, and you also, I think that's where a lot of this political violence we see is coming from. Because people who have a dissenting or a different opinion get shouted down. And when they won't be shouted down, then they get attacked. And then if they still don't back down, then they get killed. And we know who's responsible for most of the violence. It's not the right. Because we seem to be able to express ourselves through logic.
The right just doesn't do anything about it.
Well, you're accurate there. You're not wrong. So let's look at this final slide on this particular thing. So what is all this really about? This debate isn't about money. It's about where rights come from. Whether consent can be implied or not. How much force is acceptable to achieve social goals. So in other words, if you believe rights are inherent, taxation looks morally suspicious. If you believe rights are granted by society, taxation looks inevitable. Me personally, I believe, as our forefathers believed, that our rights were given to us. We are endowed by our creators, our creator, singular. And those rights come from God. We have those rights. We have the right to life and liberty and property. We have the right to pursue same and to defend same. And I also believe that the individual is the smallest minority. And as a result, that individual's rights should be protected at all costs, even to the detriment of government, even if that means the government has less money. And, so that brings on this discussion. All right, we can't just live in anarchy, I don't think. Then we have, warlords taking over and factions created, and it's just a bunch of infighting. So if we're going to have a society with this many people, we got to have some form of governance. So how do we, and that requires funding, especially in a capitalist society, a free market society. What's a fair way to fund it while also limiting its power?
A usage tax.
Exactly. Now, I know why I support that. Why do you support that?
Because you, based on what your choices are, determines the amount of money you put towards this system, this government body that is going to do the minimum to make sure that we are a well-constructed society. Most of the work is going to be done, and it's already done, by private corporations, private citizens, private companies. The government doesn't do anything other than take our money and then spend it.
Yeah. They don't build roads.
They hire some Scandinavian company to come over and build a bridge, as opposed to hiring Americans to do it. They put giant monster zebra humps on the side of a road so that a car can drive by and go out of control and hit somebody on the bike path they're trying to protect from.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud and throw that out there?
You did. And I actually took out a couple of those little armadillos, or I hit a couple. I mean,
Well, wait till the lawsuits start, and then my prediction is at some point they're going to come and pull them out.
yeah. Well, as soon
But
as you
anyway,
knock somebody's front end off the truck, it's going to happen. And then, I mean,
when
the
you get one
argument
of
can be
those
made, well,
little low riding rice burners hit one of those, and they go out of control and end up in somebody's house.
yeah.
Sorry, most people don't have any clue what we're talking about.
No, they just did some road work on the road that leads to our main thoroughfare here between our houses and Highway 98. And they put these little armadillo speed bumpy things on the side of the road instead of the normal little grooves where when you ride over them, the tires just go, so you know you're on the side of the road. These things look like legit armadillos at an angle, and they're bumps.
They're
about this tall.
They're like they're not gradual like a speed bump.
No.
So you hit one of those and you're going to go into the air.
Yeah. If you're doing the speed limit, yes.
Yeah. It's insane. It's just another example of when you put government in charge of things, they do stupid shit.
So let's go back. All right. Right now, government is funded not only through taxes, but through fines and fees. And I think a usage tax, if you use a service or you want to use a service, for example, prime example. Let's say schools. If I choose to send my kid to public school, I should pay directly to that school a small tuition of some form. That's using that school. You're not being taxed. Every household isn't being taxed for all the kids to go to that school.
Then when you don't have kids, you're paying for kids to go to school.
Yes. And the argument is going to be, well, we can't afford to do it. Then we shouldn't do it. We had schoolhouses. If you've ever watched Little House on the Prairie, that's somewhat historically accurate in the fact that they had a little local town schoolhouse where they provided a building. The people in the community built the building, and they pulled their resources and paid the teacher to be there. And if you want to specialize in certain things, before Jimmy Carter started the Department of Education, we were number one in the world in education. Now we're next to last?
Well, what do you see blowing up right now? You see co-ops, homeschooling.
Yes.
Non-traditional, traditional is bad. Non-public education. You see a shit ton of it, and it's growing and growing and growing.
Absolutely is. And there are resources galore because we did both.
The product sucks. The tax subsidized product sucks.
Yes. And the indoctrination that we talked about earlier, why people don't understand economics, why people don't understand how the Constitution works, why people don't realize that at one point in this country, we didn't have an income tax. Those are things that are important. And, when I first had a history class when I was in middle school, the first thing the teacher said is those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And so it's purposeful to remove true historical context from all of this stuff. I got in a debate with a girl who is, I guess, a millennial. I don't know what the generations are. I know it's Gen Z and then it's millennial, right?
Yeah.
This was a few years back. She's like, well, I think the Constitution is outdated. That's
because some idiot on TikTok told her that.
Well, this was pre-TikTok, but some teacher actually told her that. Some teacher planted that thought in her mind that, they didn't have automatic weapons and when they wrote the Constitution. Well, hell, they didn't have typewriters or internet either. They didn't have texting capabilities on their phones. So and that's one of the things when people want to form a constitutional convention to for term limits. That's the one that a lot of people lead with. We need a constitutional convention to make sure we have term limits for people in Congress. Problem with that is that once you have a constitutional convention, the entire Constitution is on the slate to be changed.
Yeah, and term limits will be a fart in a windstorm in that whole thing.
Yeah, because the first thing that's going to happen is going to be the Second Amendment.
You're going to lose the Second Amendment. You're going to lose the First Amendment. Because hate speech, we got to protect you from somebody's words.
Yep, due process.
Yep, you're going to lose the Fifth Amendment. I mean, you're going to lose a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm. So you open up a huge can.
Well, it's just one of the strategies to turn us into, another country under the globalist EU type format that they want.
Absolutely.
The bad guys are the ones that are chiming for a constitutional convention.
Well, now I can't say that because I've sat in Republican meetings where I know the people who were at first in favor of it were chiming in.
No, I'm not talking about people having the idea of doing that. I'm talking about the ones that are actively raising money, paying for it, trying to make it happen. They're the bad guys or they're not thinking clearly.
Yeah, no doubt. Well,
do you trust the people who would be representing us?
Absolutely, man. I don't trust Dan. I trust like two people.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't mean you. Just in general, like can the general population say that they trust?
No.
Whoever would be going there who decides who goes to represent us?
Exactly. Well, I mean, it would be a states convention, and I don't want to get into the specifics of that, but it would be.
But in general, who would pick them? The government?
Yes, the state government.
So the state government would pick them.
Yes.
How are they doing in the majority of our 50 states?
That's the issue because you need a majority of states to pass an amendment in that.
How many Ron DeSantis's are out there?
There's only one of those, Dan, and there may be somewhat.
There might be three in the entire country.
Ron Lights out there, yeah. Nobody has the fuzzies to do what Ron's doing. You know what I'm saying? And it's.
But I mean, who is out there who is running a state that runs it in the best interests of the people?
Very few.
You can count them on one hand.
Yes.
So why would you let those people dictate who goes to represent you in a convention of states and think that we will have the majority that's going to do the right thing? It's an insane idea. It's insane. Try just fighting for what we have in place, because there's a significant portion of the people who are in government that want to limit or completely change the Constitution that we have in place. Yeah. And you want to go let them rewrite it?
No.
That's insane.
You're right. You're absolutely correct, buddy. Absolutely correct. Well, if you want to fix government, you start with the purse strings. And first, you have to recognize that taxation is theft. Then the next step is to convince your politicians of that. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you were here earlier, we will not be having a show next week or New Year's Eve. So we will see you guys in 2026. Dan,
the ants need to tell the grasshoppers to fuck off.
Do what?
The ants need to tell the grasshoppers to fuck off. That's what we need to do.
Accurate. So after the first year, we've got a couple of big shows. We've got a COVID show that's coming up, all based on new data, new things that have come out. We also have one that's based on property rights that's coming. And we hope to see you after first year. If you are visiting friends and family, safe travels for Christmas. If you're staying home, have a Merry Christmas. And thank you so much for being enlightened and watching the show with us. For Dan, I'm Wes. We'll see you next time on the Driveway Liberty Podcast.
You are